Hi everybody, Phil here. Thanks for watching the show tonight. Last week when we were on, we had paneling on this wall, if you recall, and we took that paneling off of there. And we also had an outlet with the wire running on the outside of the wall, and it was just mounted flush right here on the wall itself. Now what we've done is we've taken that wire and we've recessed it into the wall, and we've jumped from here over to here, over to here, and that gives us 3 outlets, because this is my workbench area. My workbench comes up to about 38 inches, which is right in this area. So it's just a couple inches below those outlets, so that I'll have nice easy access as I'm working on stuff on my workbench. Plug your tools in, what have you. Anyway, now after we put the drywall up, we hit it with 3 coats of mud. And you know, the painful part is the sanding in between there. Man, I tell you what, I'm tired of eating sawdust, or drywall dust I should say. Put on a couple pounds, so it must be really high in calories. But anyway, if you've ever sanded drywall, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you put your 3 coats on here, and now what we're going to do is I'm going to grab some paint. I've got some flat paint over here, and I'm going to put that in the tray. And then we're going to put our primer coat on here. Now the reason you use a flat white paint is because any of these areas in your mudding and taping where there may be little imperfections, that's going to show up with that white flat paint on there. And it also primes the wall, because anytime you have bare drywall or you have joint compound, you know, you really need to prime that before you put your top coat on. So I guess the next thing for us to do is get some paint out. I'll show you what kind of rollers I use and brushes and things like that. So we'll be right back. Alright, well the first thing we want to do, we got our paint out here. Now I've got a 5-gallon bucket. You know, if you get those 1-gallon buckets, that's fine. But I got the 5-gallon because I got a lot of painting to do. But you want to make sure you get this paint stirred up. And what we have on our drill here is a paint mixer. I'm hoping you guys can see that. Anyway, you hook it up to your drill and you just want to make sure you get the paint good and stirred up from bottom to top, side to side. And this takes a few minutes, so I'll turn the camera off and I'll get right back to you. But I'd stir that up for, you know, maybe 5 minutes or so, just kind of moving that batter in there around and around as much as you can. All right, well we've mixed our paint up, and I ran that, you know, maybe for 5 minutes with that stirrer in there with my drill, and we just need a few things here. Obviously, you need a roller frame. You need a roller. Now the kind of rollers I like to use, they are actually lamb's wool. It holds the paint a lot better. It gives you a lot nicer finish. You know, these things are not cheap, but it gives you such a nice product in the end. I think it's really worth buying and taking the time to clean them. Now a real easy way that I've found to clean your roller covers after they got a lot of paint in them is I'll just put them, set them, after you get the bulk of the paint out of them, I'll set them on the tub and let the spigot just run down on one side, and I'll walk away for, you know, maybe 5, maybe even 10 minutes with that water running on there, and it siphons all that paint pretty much all the way to the bottom, and then you go in there and you got to squeeze a little bit of it out, but you know, it's not that bad. So anyway, use a good roller. It's going to hold the paint on here. You know, a lot of the cheap rollers, they'll fling paint all over. You'll have more paint on yourself than you will on the wall. Another thing you want to make sure to do is buy a good quality brush. Yeah, I know brushes are not cheap, but you know, it's another thing that if you get a good quality brush, it makes the job a lot easier. It comes out looking a lot better, and you're going to like your end product a whole bunch more. Purdy is a good brand. There's several other ones, but this brush here is probably $16 for a 2.5-inch brush. You know, they can run $20, $25 depending on the size. The roller covers, I think they're about 10 bucks. But like I said, these last forever if you take care of them. And they give you such a nice product. Then we'll just put our extension pole on here so that we're not working ourselves to death. And the only other thing we need is a screen. You just hang this on the side of the bucket. That goes right in there like that. And you're off. Okay, like I said, you get a lot of paint on that lamb's wool cover, so you can cover a lot of space. It's not flinging the paint back at you. Yeah, I know, it's like watching paint dry, isn't it? Well, what I'll do is I'll put a little more paint on the wall here. And then I'll turn the camera off and we'll come back to it. And I'll show you the end results. Now again, the reason that we're painting this with a flat white paint is so that you can find any imperfections in your drywall seams. And when you find those, you simply spackle them or hit them with joint compound, depending on how severe it is. And then after you do that, you want to hit it again, that area that you just mudded in again, where the imperfections were, you want to hit that with another primer coat. So this is priming that joint compound, that drywall, and I'm going to continue all the way around the room here, and then we'll be ready for our finish coat before you know it. And that'll be kind of nice because this is the area where my workbench is, and I'm telling you, a guy like me's got to have a workbench, so I'll be glad to get that back in place. I guess that's about it for now. Okay, and with the magic of television, you can see we've got this all painted already. Actually, the painting time on that, it's not a real big area, maybe 10 by 8. And then we went over a couple, maybe 4 foot on this wall. Maybe 15 minutes. So it's not a real big deal. But it's not a whole lot of fun to watch a guy paint. So anyway, that included the cutting in at the top. When I mean cutting in at where the wall and the ceiling meet, you got to cut that in with your brush. And I want to give you guys a little tip here. When you are using a brush, I see a lot of people they'll actually have their brush sitting up on the edge of a bucket. That's not what you want to do, folks. That's going to dry your brush out, and you're going to get big globs in there. It's going to make it really hard to clean. So your tip of the week here, the Man Cave tip of the week, is keep that brush immersed in the paint. You just stand it up in there. You only got a couple inches of paint in the bucket, and that way your brush stays nice and fresh, and it's a lot easier to put the paint on where it's not all sticky and gloppy. So anyway, I'm going to go around the whole rest of this area. If you have any Man Cave tips, you can find me at PensacolaBeachToday.com or NavarreBeachToday.com. I go by C-Phil, and if you PM me Man Cave tip of the week, I'll try and pull one out here and tell you who sent it in. That's all I got now. Back to you, Randy. Thanks for watching, everybody.